We're going to create some flying text in this video. We're going to use classic tweens. I will introduce you to motion tweens later on, but I want to use classic tweens in this example. If I play the flying text in the video here, you'll see it flies in and then flies out. If I play it in my flash player, you can see it flies in and then flies out. Now, this is not a particularly difficult exercise to do. Learning how to do tweens is a very important part of learning to use Animator. Let's go to File. We're going to make a new video. I'll make the width 800. I'll leave the height at 400. I'll make it an ActionScript 3 and go OK. I might drop the size of the window down just so that I have a bit more area on the outside of it. I could move it around a little bit, but I'd like to see both sides because I'm going to take the text off the screen. So I'll just set that down to 75%. So I've got a little bit of room either side of my canvas there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a symbol of text. I'll get my text tool, which is over here, or hit T. And when I click onto the canvas, you can see the size and position. I'm just going to type in flying text. You can put in whatever you want. You can put your name in there or whatever you feel like. You can change the size and the width of that. This is set at 179 wide. Might be a useful thing to remember that 179 by 49. If I click and now I'm going to change that to a symbol. Go to just get on my selection tool, which is V, and just move my text around there, and I'm going to go modify and I'm going to convert that to symbol. I'll call it flying text again because I'm such an inventive namer of things. And you'll see that that has now ended up in the library. Now, the first thing I want to do, having got my text, is I want to start it off over here somewhere. But I also don't want to come in straight away. So I'm going to go to frame 24 roughly. No, that will do. That's about 1 second at 24 frames per second. And I'm going to create hit F5 to create just a normal frame. At frame 25, I want to create a keyframe. So I want something to change. Before I go any further with this, so I do want to do something with my text because I want to move it around a little bit, change its shape. But I want to do that from a certain point. So with my text selected, I'll zoom in here a bit. I'm going to hit the free transform tool, and you'll see that there's a white dot in the center of the flying text. I want to move that to one of the corners. And that's because then I can change the text like that, and it does it from that point. I can also shorten it if I want to, or lengthen it, or whatever I want to do. So I can do it from that particular point. I'll undo those changes so I get back to where I was, and put that point back there. The next thing I want to do is go back to, go back and also put a ruler in. Now the reason I want a ruler in is so I have a point on which to set my text. Go to View, choose Rulers, and to make a ruler, I simply click on the ruler bar, hold the mouse down and drag the ruler bar onto the screen. If I go to 200, which is roughly the center, I'll get it in the center of my thing. I can also then just use my arrows to place my flying text right on that ruler. Now, I want to drag that, I want to fly that text in. So, how do I do that? Well, I'm going to go to frame 32 and hit my function F6 key, or function F6 on the Mac keyboard, and drag my text to where I want it to finish off, roughly in the middle. That's where I want it to be. Now, in order to create the text moving, I need to create a tween. And to do that, I go to the grey bar with the timeline, do a right click on that and go create classic tween. You'll notice you've got creation motion tween there as well. Motion tweens, you don't really have to have a keyframe. In fact, you're better off not having a keyframe at the end of it, just a normal frame, and create a motion tween. And we'll have a look at that, as I said, further down the track. Let's create our classic tween and let's see what happens. Play it, it flies in. Now, mine's jumped down before it's come in. I'm not too sure why it's doing that. Oh, there it is. I'm going to just lower that down to where it should be. And on my keyframe, that's the correct spot there. So it didn't start off in the correct place. So let's try that again. Lovely, flies in. I want it to sit there now for a while. I'm going to sit it there for quite a few frames. So I'll go to frame 72 and I don't need a key, and I'll create a keyframe there. But I do want it to just sit there. And then I'm going to fly it off. So I'll do a similar range of things, about 8 frames, go to about frame 82. Create a keyframe. This time I'm going to put the text off to the side. Make sure it's lined up with my line. Right click on the grey area and create a classic tween. We're going to ease these tweens in a second, but let's see what we've got so far. Text flies in, stays there, and then flies out. And I can put lots of extra frames on the end if I like, or do what I like. But when I hit Command Return, and I'll make it a little bit bigger, flies in, flies out. Great. At this stage, I think I'll save my file. I'll go File, Save As. I'll call it Flying Text. Again with the brilliant naming. Save that. Excuse me. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is introduce you to some easing. Easing means you can make it go in and speed it up or slow it down, or change the rate at which it goes in. When I click on to the tween area and I go to Properties, you can see this thing here, Easing. I'm going to ease it in, which means it should, in theory, come in fast and slow down, which it does. And on the other tween, go to the Properties, I'm going to ease that out. So I'm going to drag that down so it's minus 100. Let's see what that looks like. Comes in and flies out. Now, I've got this a little bit large here, so I'll change that down a little bit, rock that in. I'd like it to even be more exaggerated than that. So I'm going to click on the little blue area, and over here you'll see you've got an editing area. If I click on that, edit the easing, you can see it's gone in quickly and then slowed down. I want it to come in more quickly and slow down a bit more. So I'm going to click on this black square down here, and that brings up some tools to change the lines. If I drag that up and out a little bit, you get a much more exaggerated curve. Let's see what that looks like. And just wait till it goes through again. Bang, a lot quicker. And I might do the same thing on the other one. Let's go to that, we'll edit that one. This time I'm going to slow it right down. I might even go from this one here, drag that like that so it comes out and much more exaggerated. So when I play this now, almost too fast in some ways, but you get the idea. You can fiddle around with that until you're quite happy with how it looks. And you can add some more frames, remove some frames. The other thing I wanted to do, if I go back to my original one, was put in a couple of changes here. I exaggerated. I made a keyframe at around about 60. The next keyframe slightly pulls it back a bit. Then there's a normal frame, then there's another keyframe, a little bit more, a lot more, and that is sustained for around about 7 or 8 frames, so you get the exaggerated weight. So let's do that. Around about frame 60, I'm going to hit keyframe, and this time I'm just going to move that, and I'll put another keyframe next to that. So it stays the same until that keyframe, then it starts to, this is the keyframe that I want it to change. I'm going to just drag that back a little bit. I'll go 2 more frames, hit another keyframe, drag it back a fraction more, and you can see by having that dot at the front of it, it allows me to move the text without changing its position. It stays, that part of the text stays there. And one more, function F6. This time I'm going to really stretch it back, and it then springs back into position before it flies off. Let's see what that looks like. I'll go play it, comes in, flies off. Not perfect, but not bad. I don't know why it didn't click back that quickly. Let's see what happens when I play it in the screen. Took a while to take off then, so not sure why that's doing that. Flick, flick, let's have a look at that. Oh, the easing's changed. Okay. No, it should be okay. Anyway. It should have shot off quicker than that, but that's fine. We can move that a little bit forward. If I put another function F6 there and push it forward a bit, give it a bit of a start. Hopefully now we might have solved that. Anyway, I can readjust the easing on that and see what happens and change it around. Oh, we've gone the wrong way on that. We want it to fly off. And then, so we'll do that. Let's see what that looks like. I might even edit that. Anyway, the idea is you can fiddle around with this until you've got it how you like it. The other thing I can do is, if I remove the easing and then also reduce the number of frames, you'll get a much faster flying off. And there you go. So there's a range of things you can do to make your flying text. I'll leave you with that, and you can keep on working around with it. The other thing you can do also here is exaggerate so that it breaks. So I can create a couple of keyframes here and do things like insert, squash it in, and squash it in a bit more. So you get the effect of it's squashed right in before it breaks and springs back into position. Not too sure what that will look like. Let's have a look at it. Now, I'll leave you to fiddle around with that and see if you can make it look fantastic. I'll put a couple of frames in and see what that does. Okay, that's the end of that section on creating tweens.